The trouble began with the keys. I always leave them on the radiator by the door click, right there, next to the loose screw that's been rattling since winter. But last Tuesday, they were on the kitchen counter, dangling over the edge like someone had dropped them mid-stride. Wednesday, the motion sensor light outside stayed dark when I took the trash out. The bulb wasn't dead. I checked. Just hesitant. Flickered once as I stood there, breath fogging, then blinked on like it had been startled awake. By Thursday, I stopped using the garage. The automatic door would judder halfway open, then freeze. I'd have to duck under, shoulders brushing cold metal while the motor whined overhead. Saturday, I found footprints in the frost on the back porch. Small ones, bare feet, narrow, toes too long. Melted by noon. I swept the puddle away, told myself it was the ice cracking into shapes. Tonight, the pipes started humming after midnight. A low, wet drone like something sliding through them. Then came the creak from the attic, not the roof settling. A shuffle, a scrape, deliberate. The ladder still down, hinges rusted open, cold air pooling on the tiles. The cold from above seeped into my socks. My neck prickled, that old childhood fear of something watching from the dark. I counted breaths, 12, then footsteps, 3 toward the ladder. The attic yawned, exhaling a scent like wet earth and copper? Halfway up, the humming stopped. Not just the pipes, everything. My ears filled with cotton-stuffed silence. Then a liquid drip from deep in the attic. Once. Twice. Rhythmic. The drip quickened. Something glinted, a puddle spreading toward me oily under the light. I stepped back, heel catching a floorboard that creaked, and the sound echoed twice. Once under my foot, once from the far corner. The air had weight now, pressing my throat, and the wetness on the floor, when I looked down, wasn't water. Streaks of it clung to my soles, faintly red and too warm. Something shifted behind the vent, a wet click, like a tongue peeling off teeth. The flashlight died. Darkness pooled. Something crawled. My pulse hammered in my wrists, my temples, a double-time staccato. Not real, not real, not real. But the crawlspace draft licked my ankles, carrying that coppery whisper. I staggered backward until the wall hit my spine. Wrong, the stairs should be here, and my palm slipped on something tacky. The wallpaper felt, membranous, soft as a throat. A wet inhale echoed from the ceiling. Not the attic. The sound bloomed everywhere, inside the plaster, inside my molars. Lights flickered, except I hadn't touched the switch. The hallway stretched, door frames warping into gnarled silhouettes. My bedroom door stood ajar, but through the crack glimmered the faint green of moss, the curve of a root. "Stop," I whispered. The words split into layers, a child's voice beneath mine, a gurgle above. Shadows pooled at my feet, viscous. They clung. Each step made a sound like peeling tape. The bathroom mirror reflected only the shower curtain behind me, swaying though the air was still. I clawed at the window. The latch snapped, cold air biting, but the screen was gone. A figure stood in the yard, pale and larval under the moon. Our faces matched. Mine, but stretched, hollows where the eyes should. Wind howled, or was that breathing as the walls puckered, pulsing? I tasted soil, felt roots threading between my ribs. Footsteps began again. From the attic, from the hall, from inside the walls. Mine, I thought, and the thought wasn't mine. The closet knob turned by itself. The closet door wheezed open. My breath hitched empty except for the coats, but their sleeves twitched fat with absence. A child's laughter seeped into the floorboards, sourceless and damp. The hallway clock chimed, 3 times, only ever 3. I gripped the window ledge, splinters needling my palms. The yard was void now. Just the oak tree's shadow, knuckling toward the house, a shape too deliberate, too bent. A cold filament brushed my neck. My fingers came away smeared with wet ash. The attic stairs groaned, though I stood motionless. Above, a low thrumming. A hive sound. A digging sound. Who's here? My whisper melted into the walls. A chorus answered, syllables nodded. You are, UEC. The light shifted, moonlight curdling into jaundiced yellow. My reflection in the toppled lamp's base, shoulders too narrow, chin elongated. The glass showed fingers sinking into pulp, into black rot. Footsteps echoed my own gate, downstairs, upstairs, behind walls. My pulse thickened, syrup slow. Move, scream, run. But my legs were stone, roots tangling through veins. The closet hinges screamed. A cold draft spilled out, carrying the scent of turned earth. A hand emerged, pallid, fingers fused like new shoots. Reaching. I stepped closer. The thought shocked me. Not mine, not mine, but my body lurched forward, answering. The fused fingers grazed my wrist-cold cellulose, fibrous and hungry. My ribs crackled, a dry bouquet bending toward that impossible hand. Shadows pooled in my sockets, greasing my vision. Through the smudge, my reflection in the closet's cracked mirror, hollows where my eyes should be. The attic's thrumming synced with my pulse now, not a hive. Teeth. Grinding bone, masticating plaster. The house inhaling, the hand coiled around my arm. Frostbite blossomed where it touched, but deeper. Inside the marrow. My knees buckled, but the thing held me upright, puppet stiff. Shadows licked the air shapes like cursive, like language. A choke of loam filled my throat. I tried to scream. My jaw unhinged, too wide, and the laughter came again. Childish, yes, but layered with a guttural croon. From my own throat. The mirror showed my fingers now. Knuckles bulbous, skin splitting into bark. Roots wormed beneath my nails. My left eye ruptured, a sapling's tip piercing the cornea. Beyond the closet door, the hallway stretched endless walls puckered like scar tissue, breathing. The oak shadow seeped through cracks, knitting itself around my ankles. I tried to remember my name. The letters crumbled, shed like dead leaves. My last thought, wet and sinking. I'm not sure when I stopped being the one moving, .che. The laughter gurgled into a wheeze. My lungs were spongy, clogged with silt. I could smell it now, damp rot, sweet as overripe pears. The attic sighed, and the walls exhaled spores that clung to my lips. My right ear detonated in a burst of splinters. Trembling, I reached up. Where cartilage should have been, twigs bristled, sprouting leaves so thin they transluced the moonlight. The sound of the house shifted. Not chewing anymore. Swallowing. Memory flickered. Birthday parties in this hall, balloons catching on the same oak molding. Had those walls always had veins? The floorboards rippled, viscous. My bare feet sank slightly, leaving troughs that filled with black sap. Focus on the mirror. Focus. The closet door creaked wider. Not a closet, a gash. Inside, something shifted. Not the fused hand, but its source, a moist rhombus of darkness. It didn't beckon. It pulled. A phone rang downstairs. Faint. My mother's ringtone. The sob that tore from me was half scream, half rustle of wind through dead corn. My arm swung toward the noise, involuntary. The attic growled. My cells curdled, obeying. I took the first step toward the stairs, wood groaning beneath me. Toward her voice, toward whatever the house wanted to feed. Each stair bowed underfoot, alive. The banister slithered against my bark-skinned palm, its varnish sticky, secreting a resin that smelled of childhood tears. The ringtone spun louder. Her lullaby, the one she hummed when fevers spiked. But the melody warped now, notes stretched into the creak of weight-bearing beams. I mouthed, "Mom," but termites seethed from my throat, cascading over my jaw. My teeth ached, roots drilling into gums. Halfway down, the wallpaper blistered. I watched my birthmark migrate across the surging wood grain, absorbed. My ribs creaked, vines constricting, tenderizing meat into pulp. "Hurry!" begged some shrinking core of me, but my legs moved at the house's syrupy tempo, roots knitting through floor joists. The phone lay on the kitchen tiles, screen cracked, fingers blooming into white trumpet flowers. I grasped it. "Hello?" Static. Then wet inhalation. A voice like sheathed claws. "Darling, you've grown such croots!" The receiver dissolved. My wrist snapped backward, lotus petals splaying as tendons snapped into tendrils. Across the room, the back door wavered, a dim rectangle of April light. I lunged. Porcelain dishes sprouted mouths, chanting in pollen-dusted sighs. My knees fractured, birthing saplings that anchored me to the linoleum. Above, the ceiling split open, a honeycomb of hollows buzzing with wasps that knew my name. I reached once more. The door handle shrank. A mirage. My mother's voice gurgled up through the drain. "Stay," the house crooned through my own mouth, sweet as sap. "Stay, stay, stay."